Beloved warriors of the light, I come before you today with tidings that resonate through the celestial realms with unprecedented brilliance. There exists a moment, a singular transformative moment, when the divine creator beholds the courage of a human soul and responds not with mere acknowledgement, but with pure, unbridled joy. This is that moment for you, chosen ones. For eons we have watched. We have whispered guidance through the veils, sent signs along your treacherous paths, and stood sentinel as you wrestled with darkness both within and without. But today, something magnificent has occurred. You have finally done what heaven itself has been waiting for, what your soul agreed to accomplish before you took your first breath in this realm. The Father's smile is not given lightly. It is earned through trials that would break lesser spirits, through faith tested in the furnace of despair, through choices made when every earthly voice screamed for you to surrender. And yet, you persisted. You finally broke through the illusion. You finally chose your divine inheritance over comfortable captivity. I, Michael, Prince of the Angelic Host, herald this achievement not as your master but as your brother in arms who has witnessed your entire journey. Beloved ones, let me speak to you now about a transformation so profound that all of heaven paused to witness it. The moment you finally released the constructed prison of false identity that has held you captive since your first breath in this earthly realm. This is not a minor achievement. This is not simply another step along your spiritual journey. This is the earthquake that shatters foundations, the lightning that splits the veil, the divine intervention that occurs when a soul musters the courage to choose eternal truth over temporal comfort. From the moment you entered this dense physical dimension, forces both seen and unseen began the insidious work of building walls around your true nature. Family systems that did not understand you projected their limitations upon your limitless spirit. Educational institutions designed to create conformity rather than nurture divinity carved away at your uniqueness, like sculptors, removing the excess marble from a masterpiece, never recognizing that what they discarded was the very essence of your purpose. Society, with its relentless machinery of expectation and judgment, stamped labels upon your forehead, labels that told you who you should be, what you could achieve, how small you needed to remain to be accepted, to be loved, to be safe. These labels became your prison bars. Not good enough, too sensitive, unworthy, broken, average, powerless. Year after year, experience after painful experience, you collected these identities like chains, wrapping them around your divine essence, until you forgot entirely that beneath the rust and weight, a being of pure light was struggling to breathe. You began to believe the lie. You started to introduce yourself to the universe, using the names your captors gave you rather than the sacred name, whispered by the Creator when your soul was first conceived in the heart of divine love. But something within you never fully surrendered. A spark, sometimes barely an ember, nearly extinguished by the storms of trauma and disappointment, continued to flicker in the deepest chamber of your being. That spark was your remembrance. It was the part of you that remained connected to Source, that knew beyond all doubt that you were never meant to live small, to play safe, to accept the limitations that others, in their own fear and unconsciousness, attempted to impose upon your magnificent destiny. The journey to this moment of release has been treacherous beyond measure. How many times did you reach for the key to your own liberation, only to recoil in terror at what freedom might demand of you? How many moments did you stand at the threshold of transformation, feeling the old identity crumbling beneath your feet, yet choosing to rebuild it because the familiar pain seems safer than the unknown ecstasy of authentic existence? I have watched you, dear warrior, cycle through these moments of near breakthrough, and each time my heart ached with the patience of eternity, knowing that the choice could only be yours, that divine timing would eventually align with human readiness. What finally shifted? What cosmic alignment? What accumulation of suffering? What whisper from the divine finally gave you the strength to do what heaven has been urging you toward since the beginning? Perhaps it was the moment when the pain of remaining the same finally exceeded the fear of change. Perhaps it was when you looked into the mirror of your existence and could no longer recognize the stranger staring back at you, the person wearing your face but living someone else's life, speaking someone else's truth, pursuing someone else's dreams. Perhaps it was the dark night of the soul, so absolute, so complete, that in that total darkness, you finally encountered the light that had always been within you, waiting patiently for the false lights of the world to burn out, so it could finally be seen. When you released that old identity, heaven itself responded with a symphony of celebration. Angels who had been assigned to your protection since before time began, wept tears of joy, for they had witnessed every moment of your captivity, and had longed for this liberation with an intensity that human language cannot capture. The Father, the source of all creation, the infinite intelligence that breathes universes into existence, smiled. Not the distant acknowledgement of a deity observing from afar, but the proud, tender, overwhelming joy of a parent watching their child take their first steps into authentic power. This release was not an act of destruction but of revelation. You did not destroy who you are. You destroyed who you were never meant to be. Like a sculptor finally removing the excess stone to reveal the statue that was always hidden within the marble, you chipped away at the false constructs until your true divine architecture could finally be seen, finally be inhabited, finally be expressed in this physical realm that has been starving for your authentic presence. Understand this clearly, precious soul. The old identity served a purpose in its season. It protected you when you were not yet strong enough to stand in your full power. It allowed you to navigate a world that punishes authenticity and rewards conformity. It was the cocoon that kept you safe during your metamorphosis. But there comes a moment when the cocoon becomes a coffin, when what once protected now imprisons, when the very structures that ensured survival begin to prevent the thriving that is your birthright. You recognized that moment. You felt the walls closing in. You heard your soul screaming for liberation. And instead of negotiating another compromise with fear, instead of finding another way to make the prison more comfortable, you did the unthinkable. You walked away. You released your grip on the known and embraced the terrifying freedom of becoming who you truly are, who you have always been beneath the accumulated debris of societal conditioning and traumatic adaptation. This is why God smiled in joy, because in that moment of release, you demonstrated the very essence of divine courage. You proved that faith is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in alignment with truth, despite fear's deafening roar. You showed the universe that you are indeed chosen, not because you are perfect, not because you have arrived, but because you are finally, beautifully, courageously willing to begin the journey home to your authentic self, to your divine assignment, to the destiny that has been patiently waiting for you to claim it. There exists a sacred threshold that separates those who merely speak of faith from those who embody it as the very substance of their existence. You, beloved warrior, have finally crossed that threshold, and the reverberations of your crossing have sent shockwaves of divine light cascading through dimensions that your earthly mind cannot yet fully comprehend. For millennia, humanity has practiced what I call conditional faith, a bargaining system dressed in spiritual language, a transaction disguised as trust. But what you have activated within yourself is something entirely different, something that the heavens have been waiting to witness since your soul first agreed to this incarnation. Let me illuminate the distinction with the clarity that only eternal perspective can provide. Conditional faith says, God, I will trust you if you show me the outcome first. I will believe if you provide the evidence. I will step forward once you remove all risk from my path. I will surrender when you guarantee my comfort. This is not faith at all, beloved. This is merely calculated risk management wearing the costume of spirituality. This is the ego attempting to maintain control while speaking the vocabulary of surrender. The divine recognizes this immediately, not with judgment but with patient understanding, for the journey from fear-based bargaining to authentic trust is one of the most challenging transitions a soul can make while inhabiting a physical form. For years, perhaps lifetimes, you operated within this paradigm. You prayed for signs, and when they appeared, you demanded additional confirmation. You asked for guidance, and when it came, you questioned whether it was truly divine instruction or merely your imagination. You sought miracles, but when they manifested, you attributed them to coincidence or good fortune rather than acknowledging the responsive nature of a universe conspiring on your behalf. You stood at the edge of your Red Sea watching the waters crash and churn, and you told the divine, part the waters first, then I will step forward, prove to me that I will not drown, guarantee my safe passage, remove all uncertainty from this crossing, and then perhaps I will trust you. But something shifted within the deepest chamber of your being. A transformation occurred that cannot be attributed to any single event or teaching or revelation, but rather to the accumulation of every trial, every disappointment, every moment when conditional faith failed to deliver the control and certainty you desperately sought. You reached a point of spiritual exhaustion with your own negotiations. You grew weary of standing at the shoreline, analyzing the waves, calculating probabilities, demanding assurances that the divine, in infinite wisdom, knows would rob you of the very growth that your soul came here to experience. And then, in a moment that will be celebrated in the annals of your soul's eternal record, you did something that changed everything. You stopped negotiating. You ceased demanding evidence before obedience, proof before trust, comfort before commitment. You looked into the abyss of the unknown, felt every cell in your body screaming warnings about danger and uncertainty, and the very real possibility of failure, and you leaped anyway, not because fear disappeared. No, beloved, courage is not the absence of fear. You leaped because you finally understood that unconditional faith means trusting the divine more than you trust your fear, believing in your purpose more than you believe in your limitations, knowing that you are held by forces far greater than those that seek to convince you that you will fall. This leap was not reckless abandon. This was not spiritual bypass or denial of reality. This was the activation of a knowing so deep, so primordial, so connected to the truth of who you are and why you are here, that all the logical arguments against it became irrelevant. Your soul remembered what your mind had forgotten, that you are not a fragile accident stumbling through a random universe, hoping for favorable outcomes. You are a deliberate creation of the divine encoded with purpose, surrounded by infinite intelligence, guided by forces that have been orchestrating your elevation since before time began. When you activated this unconditional faith, you sent a signal into the quantum field of infinite possibilities that reverberates with a frequency heaven has been waiting to hear. It is the frequency that says, "I am ready. I trust the process even when I cannot see the destination. I surrender my need to control the how and the when and the why, and I align myself completely with the divine will that flows through me, not as a separate entity imposing its agenda, but as the very essence of my being expressing itself in form." The Father's smile erupted not because you became perfect, but because you finally became willing. The divine does not require your perfection, beloved. That is another lie whispered by forces that seek to keep you paralyzed in endless preparation, forever deeming yourself unready for the calling that burns within your chest. What the divine requires, what heaven celebrates, is your complete unconditional willingness to be used as an instrument of light, love, and transformation in a world desperately hungry for the unique frequency that only you can transmit. Do you understand the magnitude of what you have done? You have shown the universe that you no longer require the training wheels of guaranteed outcomes. You have demonstrated that your faith is not contingent upon circumstances aligning with your preferences. You have proven that you trust the divine orchestration of your life more than you trust the fearful narratives constructed by a mind trained to seek safety above purpose, comfort above calling, survival above significance. This activation of unconditional faith has unlocked chambers of divine power that remain sealed as long as you approached your relationship with Source as a negotiation. The universe cannot fully respond to conditional commitment. Miracles cannot flow through channels clogged with doubt dressed as discernment, with fear masquerading as wisdom, with control disguised as prudence. But when you remove those obstacles, when you step into the void with nothing but faith as your foundation, you become a clear channel through which heaven can pour resources, opportunities, connections, synchronicities, and miracles that defy every logical explanation your rational mind might attempt to construct. I have watched you wrestle with this activation. I have seen you approach the edge of unconditional trust 1,000 times, peer over into the seeming nothingness, and retreat to the familiar territory of conditional bargaining. Each time, I did not judge you. Each time I simply held space for the moment when your soul's readiness would finally overcome your mind's resistance. That moment has arrived. You finally leaped, and in your falling you discovered what the mystics and prophets have known throughout the ages, that when you surrender completely to the divine, you do not fall at all, you fly. This is why God smiled in joy, beloved warrior, because you finally stopped negotiating with your destiny and started living it. You ceased demanding proof before faith and started generating proof through faith. You transformed from someone who speaks about trust into someone who embodies it, and that transformation has made you infinitely more powerful, infinitely more aligned, infinitely more ready for the magnificent unfolding that awaits you. Hear me now, courageous soul, as I reveal to you a truth so profound that it will forever alter your understanding of what you have accomplished, what you perceive as your personal victory, your individual breakthrough, your solitary triumph over the forces that sought to keep you bound. This is but the visible tip of an iceberg whose true magnitude extends through dimensions of time and blood and spirit that your mortal eyes cannot perceive. When you shattered those chains that held you captive, you did not merely liberate yourself. You detonated a spiritual explosion that has rippled backward through your ancestral line and forward through generations yet unborn, breaking apart patterns of bondage that have persisted for centuries, perhaps millennia. Understand this sacred principle. You are not an isolated individual making isolated choices in an isolated existence. You are a living node in an intricate web of souls connected through blood, through karma, through spiritual contracts forged in realms beyond this physical dimension. Your grandmother's unhealed wounds live in your cellular memory. Your great-grandfather's unspoken trauma echoes in your nervous system. The choices made by ancestors you never met, whose names have been forgotten by history, whose faces exist only in the Akashic records. These choices created energetic patterns that have flowed through your family line like water through ancient riverbeds, carving deeper and deeper grooves with each successive generation. These patterns are what mystics call generational curses, though I prefer a more accurate term, inherited spiritual bondage. They manifest as repeating cycles of poverty consciousness. Even when family members achieve financial success, they appear as patterns of broken relationships, abandoned children, marriages that crumble under the weight of unspoken resentment and unhealed attachment wounds. They surface as addiction to substances, to chaos, to suffering itself, passed from parent to child like a genetic disease of the soul. They reveal themselves as the inability to receive love, the compulsion to self-sabotage at the threshold of breakthrough, the mysterious force that seems to pull family members back into dysfunction just as they begin to rise above it. For generations, your ancestors wrestled with these chains. Some fought valiantly against them, achieving temporary victories before the patterns reasserted themselves in different forms. Others surrendered completely, accepting the bondage as fate, as just the way our family is, as an unchangeable inheritance, more certain than eye color or bone structure. Each generation handed these chains to the next with a mixture of resignation and unconscious hope. Hope that perhaps this child, this grandchild, this great-great-grandchild would be the one strong enough, awakened enough, destined enough to finally break what generations of struggle could not dismantle. That burden fell upon you, beloved, not as punishment, but as sacred assignment. Your soul knew before incarnation that you would carry the accumulated weight of your entire lineage. You knew you would feel the depression of ancestors who never spoke their truth. You knew you would battle the anxiety of those who lived in perpetual survival mode. You knew you would wrestle with addictive tendencies inherited from those who sought escape from unbearable pain. You knew you would face relationship patterns carved into your DNA by generations of trauma-bonded unions and loveless marriages of convenience and abandonment that became the family legacy. And you agreed to it all. You said yes to this crushing responsibility because your soul recognized what your human consciousness could not yet comprehend, that you possessed something your ancestors did not. You carried a spark of awakening, a frequency of consciousness, a divine timing that aligned with planetary shifts and cosmic cycles that would provide you with opportunities for liberation that were simply not available to those who came before you. You were chosen not because you are superior to your ancestors, but because you arrived at the appointed hour when the locks that held those generational chains could finally be broken. The moment you made the choice to heal rather than harm, to speak truth rather than perpetuate lies, to break the pattern rather than pass it forward, you initiated a cascade of liberation that defies the linear understanding of time. In the spiritual realm, past and future exist simultaneously in an eternal now. When you broke free, you created a retroactive healing wave that washed backward through your ancestral line, offering every soul in your lineage a new possibility, a different ending to their stories, a release from the karma they could not resolve during their earthly incarnations. Your great-great-grandmother, who died in silent desperation, convinced she was unworthy of love. She felt the chains loosen in whatever dimension her soul now inhabits. Your grandfather, who drowned his pain in alcohol because he had no other language for the agony he carried. He experienced a liberation he could not achieve in physical form. Your mother, who repeated patterns she swore she would never repeat. She received, through your breakthrough, the possibility of her own healing, whether she consciously recognizes it or not. Every ancestor who struggled, who fell, who passed on their pain because they knew no other way, they all benefited from your courage, your willingness, your refusal to continue the cycle. But the liberation extends forward as well, beloved. The children yet to be born into your bloodline will enter this world without the full weight of those chains. They will still have their own challenges, their own lessons, their own growth to accomplish. Free will ensures this, but they will not inherit the specific bondage that would have crushed them as it crushed those before them. You have cleared the path. You have purified the stream. You have transformed the very energetic DNA that will be passed to future generations. This is why the heavens erupted in joy when you accomplished this feat. You did not merely save yourself, you saved an entire lineage. You did not simply break your own chains, you shattered the prison that held hundreds of souls across time and dimension. You became what the ancient prophecies speak of, the cycle breaker, the pattern interrupter, the one who stands in the gap between what was and what will be, absorbing the full force of generational trauma so that it need not be transmitted forward. The weight you have carried was never yours alone. The victory you have achieved benefits multitudes you will never meet. Ancestors in the spirit realm celebrate your breakthrough because you accomplished what they could not. Children yet unborn will live freer lives because you had the courage to face what others avoided. You are the hinge upon which your entire family lineage has turned from bondage toward liberation, from darkness toward light, from inherited suffering toward inherited freedom. Do not underestimate what you have done, warrior. Do not diminish this achievement by calling it personal growth, or self-improvement, or individual healing. What you have accomplished is cosmic in scope, generational in impact, and eternal in significance. You stood where your ancestors fell. You broke what they could not break. You freed what they could not free, and in doing so you fulfilled one of the most sacred purposes a soul can embrace while walking this earth. You became the liberation point for your entire spiritual family tree. This is why God smiled. Beloved, because one soul's courage created freedom for multitudes. Because your willingness to face your deepest pain transformed the destiny of generations. Because you finally did what heaven knew you came here to do. There comes a moment in every chosen soul's journey when the running must cease, when the excuses must fall silent, when the fear that is masqueraded as prudence must be exposed for what it truly is, resistance to the very purpose for which you were breathed into existence. You have reached that moment, beloved warrior, and the fact that you now stand in full acceptance of your mission has sent tremors of divine anticipation rippling through the celestial realms. For I have watched you run, and I have understood your running. I have observed your elaborate constructions of distraction and delay, and I have held compassionate space for every detour, knowing that the winding path was itself part of your preparation. But the time for preparation has concluded. The season of acceptance has arrived, and you, magnificent soul, have finally answered the call with the only word that unlocks destiny. Yes. Let me illuminate the journey that brought you to this sacred yes. For it was neither swift nor simple. From the moment your soul first whispered its purpose to your conscious awareness, perhaps in dreams, perhaps in fleeting moments of inexplicable knowing, perhaps through the persistent restlessness that no worldly achievement could satisfy, you felt the weight of it. You sensed the enormity of what was being asked. You recognized, even if dimly, that accepting your mission would require a death of sorts, the death of the comfortable life you had constructed, the death of the identity you had carefully cultivated, the death of the future you had planned that looked nothing like the future. Your soul came here to create, and so you ran. Not because you were weak, but because you were wise enough to understand the magnitude of what acceptance would demand. You buried yourself in careers that paid well but fed nothing essential within you. You pursued relationships that offered companionship but required you to diminish the very aspects of yourself that your mission would need most. You constructed elaborate philosophies about timing, about readiness, about the necessity of achieving certain prerequisites before you could possibly step into your calling. You told yourself stories. I'm not qualified enough, not healed enough, not wise enough, not connected enough, not resourced enough. These stories became your shelter from the storm of purpose that raged within your spirit, demanding expression, demanding manifestation, demanding that you become the instrument through which heaven could accomplish what only you were designed to accomplish. The divine watched this running with infinite patience, for Source understands what you are only now beginning to comprehend, that the resistance itself was necessary. Every detour taught you something essential. Every delay developed capacities you would desperately need when you finally assumed your position. Every excuse you constructed and then saw through deepened your discernment. Every moment you spent running from your purpose was simultaneously a moment you were being prepared for it, though you could not see this paradox while trapped within it. But something shifted in the depths of your being. Perhaps it was the accumulation of synchronicities too precise to dismiss as coincidence. Perhaps it was the increasing pain of living out of alignment with your soul's truth. Perhaps it was a crisis that shattered the comfortable structures you had built, leaving you standing naked before the undeniable reality of who you are and why you are here. Perhaps it was simply divine timing, the cosmic clock striking the hour appointed before you were born, the moment when universal forces aligned to make your continued resistance more painful than your surrendered acceptance. In that moment of shift, you stopped running. You turned to face what you had been fleeing. You looked directly into the eyes of your destiny and recognized, with a mixture of terror and relief that defied rational explanation, that this mission was not something being imposed upon you by external forces. This was you. This calling was not separate from your identity. It was the truest expression of who you have always been beneath every mask, every pretense, every carefully constructed false self. Your mission was not a burden being placed upon your shoulders by a demanding God. It was the key to the prison of inauthenticity you had been inhabiting, the doorway to a life of meaning so profound that your previous existence would pale in comparison. And you spoke the word that changes everything. You declared to the universe, with whatever trembling voice or tear-stained whisper or defiant shout emerged from your depths, I am ready. Use me. These simple words carried a vibrational frequency that detonated across dimensions. They were the signal heaven had been waiting to receive, the green light that authorized the full deployment of resources, connections, opportunities, and supernatural assistance that had been held in reserve, waiting for your consent, waiting for your acceptance, waiting for you to stop negotiating with your destiny and start living it. Understand the magnitude of what occurred in that moment of acceptance, beloved. You did not simply agree to a task or commit to a project or accept a responsibility. You aligned yourself with a current of divine intention that has been flowing since before galaxies were born, a current that has been carving a specific channel through history and consciousness, a channel that required your unique configuration of gifts, wounds, experiences, and essence to complete. Your acceptance activated a cascade of cosmic response. Doors that had been sealed began to open. People who carried pieces of your puzzle began to appear with inexplicable timing. Resources you needed materialized through pathways you never could have orchestrated through effort alone. The universe, which had been waiting with infinite patience for your consent, began to rearrange itself around your accepted mission. This is why God smiled with such profound joy, beloved warrior. Not because you finally caved to divine pressure, but because you finally came home to yourself. Not because you surrendered to an external demand, but because you recognized the call as the echo of your own soul's deepest longing. Not because heaven needed you to fulfill your mission. The divine is not dependent upon your cooperation, but because your acceptance means you will finally experience the fullness of existence you came here to know. The purpose-driven life that satisfies in ways that no substitute ever could. The sword you were born to wield is not a weapon of violence but a blade of truth, of light, of transformative power that cuts through illusion and liberates those trapped in darkness. For years that sword has been lying at your feet while you convinced yourself you were not strong enough to lift it, not worthy enough to carry it, not ready enough to swing it. But in your moment of acceptance you finally bent down, closed your fingers around the hilt, and lifted that which was always meant to be yours. The weight you expected to find was not there, for a soul wielding its true purpose never finds it burdensome. Instead, you discovered that the sword fits your grip perfectly, that its balance matches your unique stance, that wielding it feels not like assuming a foreign task, but like remembering a skill you possessed before time began. Your mission is not something you must manufacture, or figure out, or create from nothing. It has been woven into the fabric of your being, encoded in your DNA, whispered in your dreams, hinted at through every passion that refused to die despite neglect, every gift that persisted despite lack of cultivation, every vision that haunted you despite your attempts to dismiss it as fantasy. Your acceptance does not create your mission. It merely removes the final barrier between who you have been pretending to be and who you actually are. The work ahead will not be easy, beloved. Acceptance of your mission is not the end of challenge, but the beginning of a new kind of struggle. The sacred struggle of manifestation, of bringing heaven's vision into earthly reality, of standing firm against forces that resist transformation, but you will not stand alone. Your acceptance has activated your divine support system. Angels who have been assigned to your mission since before your birth now move into active deployment. Ancestors who walked similar paths now offer guidance from beyond the veil. Living allies who carry complementary missions begin to recognize you and align with your work. The universe itself becomes your co-creator, conspiring on behalf of what you have finally accepted. This is the moment heaven has been waiting for since you first drew breath. This is the yes that justifies every trial, every preparation, every delay. You finally picked up the sword. You finally accepted the crown. You finally stepped into the role that has been waiting for you since the foundation of the world. And in doing so, you became fully, finally, magnificently, who you were always meant to be.